So there's a very good chance that you're watching this video and you are in your winter time, and that means that the golf courses very often aren't in great condition. It often means that the temperatures are much lower and the conditions just aren't great to get out there and practice. But it doesn't mean that you can't work on your game and start the season as you wish to continue. And that's why I'm going to bring to you this 5-part video series, Winter Home Practice Tips, focusing very much on putting. Now, throughout this series, we're going to be using the putt-out mat and many of the accessories that come with that. If you don't have any of those, don't worry, because many of the things that we will be using, you can substitute out for things that you're just going to have around the home. Now, before we get into this first tip, many of you might be thinking, why am I stood here in my house with my golf shoes on? Now, it's a tiny, tiny point, but I would encourage you to hit putts with some shoes on, because effectively the shoes have a sole and they raise you up a little bit further from the ground. And if you just pick up your putter without any shoes on, you're going to be a little bit closer to the ground, and initially that putter may feel a little bit longer than it normally does. And if you do lots of practice at home, when you eventually get back out on the golf course and put your shoes on, the putter's going to feel a little different, your setup's going to feel a little different. So put some shoes on. It may look a little weird, it may feel a little strange, but it's actually going to help you in the long run. So how do you establish what is the right setup for you? Now, I've got the putt-out mat here and I've got the mirror, which is just going to allow me to see where my head is relative to that ball. Now, you'll also notice I've got an alignment stick here, which is running straight down towards the hole that I've got at the end. Now, I know that this alignment stick runs towards that hole. I know it's exactly pointing where I want the ball to go. However, based on where I set myself up, that alignment stick may not appear that it points at the hole. And it's really important that we allow you to take a setup where you see a straight line to that cup. So here's the exercise I want you to do. Place the alignment stick pointing at your cup and just set yourself up to the end of the alignment stick as if there's a ball there. Now, once I've done that, I want to take my eyes up along the alignment stick and I want to see what my first thought is. Where do I feel like that stick points? Now, we know it's straight, but for many of you, it will look as if it's pointing to the right or to the left. And if you do find that, that's going to be a problem on the golf course. Many of you will have, I'm sure, stood over a golf ball and it looks different to what it did when you were reading the putt from behind. This is often the reason why. We're often told in the past that the eyes need to be over the ball, and that's not necessarily true. It's a good guide, but many great golfers will have the eyes just inside the ball or even just outside the ball. It's all about trying to establish the correct setup for you so you can see that line as being straight. So for me, if I set myself up with my eyes directly over that alignment stick and I can see that through the mirror, that alignment stick looks left to me. Now, if that's going to be a problem on the course, because I would then aim a little bit to the right, and I'm more likely to push that out to the right, or I'm more likely then to close the face and react to that. So what I'd love you to do is actually just move your head a little bit more out, a little bit more in, and just try and find a point at where that alignment stick looks straight into the middle of the cup. And for me, that's around about there. Now, when I move my putter away, my eyes actually fall around about an inch inside of that target line. And what that's really done for me is it's helped me establish where I need to stand, how I need to set up for my perception and my stroke. That's really important. Now, when I've got that mirror there, every time I pull a ball in and I take my setup, I can ensure that my eyes are just inside that ball to target line. That's going to allow me to see the putt straight as it is, and then I can go ahead and make my stroke. So the first point here is make sure your setup is correct, but make sure its setup is correct for you. That's the most important part. Being at home is a great time to work on and just make sure that your connection to the golf club is correct and sound. We're going to be talking about the grip here. Now, if I asked you to simulate a putting stroke without a putter, pretty much all of us would put our palms together and our fingers would be pointing pretty much down towards the golf ball. We probably wouldn't sort of do anything strange like this and point the fingers towards us or away from us. We would point them down towards the golf ball, and this would be the most natural way for us to place our hands. So we want to get relatively close to that when the putter's there. As I take my setup, place the putter in, I want to get my lead hand fairly close to what I just rehearsed. Now, you'll notice when I do that, the putter runs very much through the fingers and very much through the center line of the hand. And that's quite different to how we would hold another golf club if we're making a full swing. We would often have our hand set in this fashion here and hold it very much in the fingers. That's great for creating speed and power and being able to use our wrists in that motion. We don't really want that for putting. So I really don't mind my players having a standard hold where the trail hand is lower. I don't mind them having a cross-handed where the lead hand is lower, as long as the palms are facing each other and the fingers are relatively in alignment with the club shaft. Doesn't matter if they're a little bit down this way, we just want to try and get away from this type of hold. So personally at the moment, I tend to go lead hand low, but if I take my grip and open up my hands, you'll notice those fingers do point pretty much down toward the ground. So I've got my palms facing and I've got my fingers pointing pretty much down towards the ground. Thumbs sit on top, and I really want to make sure I have a nice light grip pressure, allowing me to make the best stroke possible.